All right, welcome to Rapid Fire Manufacturing at Tylok in Cleveland with Scott and Ryan. Thanks for having me.
Thanks for coming.
So I want to start off here with Ryan from Davenport. Davenport is a U.S. company, manufactures in the U.S. in Rochester, New York.
Yep, that's correct.
So I want to kind of get into the history of Davenport, if you don't mind.
Yeah, so for those of you watching that are familiar with Davenport, we've been around for over 130 years. So Davenport was founded in 1894 by William Simeon Davenport. He was actually an employee of Brown and Sharp Screw Machine, and obviously in the mid-1890s, he started to come up with the idea for the 5-spindle automatic screw machine. So he eventually broke off and started Davenport Machine Tool Co. in New Bedford, Massachusetts in 1894. From there, he actually produced single spindle clock and pinion machines that were primarily predicated on serving the watchmaking industry or metal buttons for the clothing industry. So those were some of their initial machine sales, were for parts that were ultimately end use was to help those industries out. So from there, the development of the multi-spindle machine really began to ramp up when the automotive market took off in the 1910s. So being in New Bedford, Massachusetts, obviously moving parts, machines, that travel time to get things back and forth became a challenge for them, and they wanted to find a geographical location that would be more conducive to selling machines for the automotive industry. So they settled on Rochester, New York, because at the time, with access to the Erie Canal, they were easily able to ship machines and parts via the canal system to either Detroit or still serving that watchmaking industry in Massachusetts. So from there, I mean, there's a lot of history that we can get into at Davenport. That's kind of the initial takeoff and how the company started. You know, in the late 1930s was really when Davenport began to take off. And a lot of that was predicated around World War II. So Davenport in 1939 was granted AAA priority by the U.S. government to stay open 24 hours a day. So they began producing all different kinds of parts and also machines to help the war effort. So there are many stories about how due to the machine's footprint, there were actually Davenport machines that were on the aircraft carriers or the warships in various locations throughout the world, producing ammunition for the soldiers fighting in the war. So some people say it, maybe we say it more than others, that Davenport was a major component in helping to win World War II. So shortly after World War II was Davenport's real commercial heyday, where they at one time in the 1950s were producing over 50 machines a month. We had over 300 employees in our Rochester, New York facility. And some odd years later, we've come out with various iterations of the machines, from the servo machines that I'm sure a lot of people are familiar with, and ultimately with our hybrid platform now that serves the industry. So we've gone through a lot of ebbs and flows over time. We can certainly get into more details about different aspects of our history, but that's a pretty general overview of Davenport and where we've come from.
Fun fact that I found out before is you're a history major, because as you're explaining it, I'm like, okay, this all makes sense. You get into the details about the company. It's really that.
Yeah, it's not, you don't meet a ton of people in the manufacturing industry that have history degrees. So it's something a little bit unique, but working for a company like Davenport, it's been extremely fascinating to dig into the history of the company, because there's, you can learn a lot from the past, obviously, and we've pulled a lot from our past to continuously improve our products and serve our industry. And obviously, just for my own selfish reasons too, it's been incredibly interesting to learn about some of the places that our machines have gone, and how we've helped serve various industries over the years, parts and innovations that we've made to help solve problems. Learning those things over time throughout my experience at Davenport has been extremely rewarding, and kind of a way that I've been able to make my major worth something.
So I want to ask you too, how has working with a company like Davenport, like the fact that it's manufactured in the U.S., does that play a big role in kind of your decision on choosing Davenport?
Yeah. There's a lot of great machine manufacturers out there. We ended up settling on Davenport for a specific mix of products for us. One of the main decisions was they have a training class that they can put on. That was actually what attracted me initially. We had a Model B, an older Model B. COVID hit. The guys that were the experts at the Model B ended up retiring during COVID, and then we kind of were left with people who knew how to run it but weren't really great at running it. So it just so happened that in my email dropped in this class that was like, we put on this class in Rochester, New York, and we sent a few people up there for training. They came back and talked highly about it, and then we ended up starting to explore the hybrid. We've primarily been an Acme Gridley house for years and years and years, and obviously they don't make Acmes anymore. So we need to kind of decentralize the machines that we use, and we started looking at the hybrids, and the training and them being in Rochester was really helpful. So I always say my worst case scenario is I have a big trailer and I can put the thing on the truck and take it back to them and say, fix this. I haven't had to do that, but they're close enough. You can, 2.5 hours to Cleveland. Yeah. The service is pretty good. So
that's awesome. So the customer support is a big aspect of it too.
Yeah. Anymore, anybody can sell a machine, but you have to be able to service it. Yeah. You have to be able to. Uptime is everything for us. We're a high production shop, so being down is not conducive to making money.
And Ryan, so talk a little bit about that support too. I know you've mentioned before you set up some systems and I believe some training that Scott or team members can access while they're on the floor to really help with some of that support.
Yeah. So I guess to kind of piggyback off of Scott's story, one of our directives is one of the parts that I omitted from our history, as I figured we were going to get into it, was 2003, Brinkman International Group, who's our current holding company, purchased the assets of Davenport Machine. At that time, Bob Brinkman and our current owner, Andy Laniak, who was the CEO at the time, set out a series of objectives for how to restore some of the heyday of Davenport and how do we service our industry and service our customers. So one of the big things that they set forth was training classes. So the class that Scott referred to, we host a training class at our facility. We have a training room entirely dedicated to Model B operator training. It's a 5-day course. It includes bookwork. It includes hands-on experience with the machines. The guy who teaches it is excellent. He has a lot of Davenport experience. He worked for one of our customers and has ran basically every iteration of the Davenport, from the Model B to the servos, HP machines, and ultimately the hybrid. So he has a wealth of knowledge, over 40 years of his experience in the field and working with all these different machines, and obviously training people internally at his company throughout his years. So he's a very valuable resource for our class. But that 5-day course is free of charge. Anyone, whether they bought the machine directly through us or they bought it on the used market, or they're pulling a machine out of storage because they have a new job that came up that they need to get their Davenport set up again, we offer that training class once a month, typically in the summer months, because Rochester, New York isn't the most desirable place in December or January. But we have stayed extremely dedicated to that 1 week a month, having generally 4 to 5 people, can be from various different companies. We like to a lot of times mix and match the classes because there's experiences and overlap from different companies. Obviously, we're competitor minded about who we select to come into the training classes, but sometimes that overlap of working with somebody at a different company on troubleshooting that test machine, there's a lot of overlap and things that they can learn from somebody else's experiences. So they go through everything from a basic setup, basic maintenance training, how to set up tools. One of the big things is obviously the troubleshooting. So our trainer will go in, he will mess up a bunch of things in the machine overnight when the guys leave for the day. And then when they come back, they have to work as a group to figure out what's wrong with the machine and get it back up and running. So he takes them from basically nothing on the machine to a full part setup, tears part of it down, and then they have to go back through it again. So somebody who's really green has an opportunity to learn a lot. And that has been our main focus since 2003 when Brinkman took over Davenport, and trying to offer that training class to continuously educate our industry. And obviously with new machine purchases on the hybrid machine, there's a whole other layer of training and support that goes into that we can get into. But that Model B training class is something that we've stayed extremely dedicated to and something that we will continue to offer as long as we're around.
That's awesome. Yeah, at some point you mentioned the response time was really, is it, if that's, I don't want to put it out and then you get a lot of,
okay. I guess just to give a little bit of background on that and the support portal. So, as we've continued, and this is more hybrid specific, as we've continued to get more machines out in the field, I mean, one of the big reasons is Scott alluded to, that the hybrid has become attractive, I think, for a lot of people, is the service offerings and support offerings that we supply with the machine. So we offer 10 days of training with every hybrid machine that we sell. We obviously have in-field support. We have free training classes for our hybrid customers at our facility anytime. That's not as on a regimented basis. It's on a case by case. As a customer needs something, they can send somebody up free of charge. And we'll spend however much time is required to help them through, whether it's maintenance, whether it's setup training, programming training, whatever it is. So that has been a big part of what we do. And obviously we do support over the phone and whatnot. But as we've gotten more machines out there, we found we were running into instances where someone would call us and we'd have a technician out at another customer. And because they got their cell phone number when that specific individual was out on an installation, they call them, but they don't pick up. We would eventually get back to them, but we wanted to improve upon that and say, how can we make this experience for our customers as advantageous as possible? So somebody like Scott, who has to run production and doesn't want their machines down, we can keep their machines up even better than we could before. So we introduced our hybrid solution support site for that. So it's basically a ticketing type system. We have QR codes that are on all of our business cards, that are in all of our machine manuals. We have decals on the machine. We also have QR codes that are built into the control. So somebody who's working at the machine can scan that QR code. It brings them right to our website. They can either sign in with their account information, or they can just proceed as a guest and give some details on their issue. They can send images, they can send videos. And once they submit that ticket, it goes out to all of our engineering group. So we have 8 engineers who are entirely dedicated to our hybrid machine product line. So that message gets sent to everybody. And we'll basically review it as a group. Obviously, whoever's in the office, or if we're all traveling, we'll communicate via phone or email to see who's available, and we'll assign the best suited person to take that ticket and reply to the customer. And to your point, our response time, pulled our analytics a while ago. Our average response time was roughly around 7 minutes to get back to a customer and start helping them with a given issue. Obviously, the overall resolution sometimes might take longer than that, but I think that initial point of contact is so important, because you don't want to feel that I'm left out in the dark. I'm waiting hours and hours to hear back from somebody, when you can get somebody in touch with you and actively helping to resolve your issue in a matter of minutes. I think that goes a long way to building that customer relationship, and it's something that's been extremely successful for us, because, you get the I guess the stigma, right, of, hey, here's this website, you just send us a message and we'll get back to you. A lot of times you send that message and it sits, but we've really taken it to heart that we don't want our customers to feel that kind of, I guess pain isn't the right word, but that instability of, hey, when is somebody going to help me? And I think it's built a lot of confidence from our customers that we're there for them and we're able to walk what we talk.
That's awesome. Yeah, that's a huge, just knowing that someone's working on it. Yeah, that definitely really, for sure. We're with Julia Wasielewski, engineer here at Tylok. We're talking about kind of the experience with the support of working with Davenport. Maybe talk about that a little bit.
Yeah. So initially when we got the Davenport, I was talking a lot with the engineer who trained me on it and was helping me. And he was really responsive, but then they added this QR ticket system. And now I put in a ticket and I get a call within 5 minutes from someone who's always the right person to help. And they actually, I'm amazed, out of every machine manufacturer, they are the most responsive, immediately helping, following up. They give me something to work to try out, If they haven't heard from me in a little bit, they're calling me back, seeing if that worked out or not, trying different things like FaceTime, send videos, just so incredibly responsive.
That's awesome. That's going to be so nice to be able to deal with that level of support too.
Yeah.
Now, as far as, I guess, so with the video calls, they'll actually walk through scenarios. Say you're having, I don't know, trouble with something or trying to figure something out. You'll actually FaceTime and walk through that whole scenario.
Yeah. So, and then they have the same exact machine on their floor. So if I'm having a specific issue or I didn't remember how to do something that they trained me on, they'll just go out to their machine, FaceTime me or send me a video of exactly how to do it. I'll be out at ours and it's all exactly the same and walking you through how to solve a problem.
That's very cool. And did you go to their in-person training too at their facility?
I did do some of the in-person training.
How was that?
It was really good. It was very beneficial, very personal, one-on-one.
That's awesome.
I mean, I don't know how much that we really talked about the initial training when a customer purchases a machine. But as you know, Julia, when we sell a hybrid machine to a customer, we offer 10 days of training with each machine that we sell. So those first 5 days are typically done in conjunction with a customer runoff. So typically a customer will select a part or a couple different part numbers that we will do a turnkey for on the machine. So that requires us purchasing all the perishable tooling, tool holders, collets, feed fingers, whatever is required to set up that job on their future machine. We do all the engineering work of laying out the part, writing all the programs, and then the physical setup of the job in the machine as well. So when the customer comes on site, their part is running on the machine. So we'll usually agree on some sort of runoff criteria, which may be 2 hours, 4 hours, 8 hours, whatever is desired to get machine acceptance, which is typically, we try to keep that to about a day of runoff just so we can really get hands-on with the training. Then from there, the rest of that week is entirely dedicated to operator training. So we can do various different things. Obviously, once customers get more experience with the machine, the training might look a little bit more different if they're getting a second machine or what have you. But, you know, we'll pull a setup out of the machine, we'll change over to another part, or we'll pull that setup out and have our customer go through the setup themselves hands-on with our guidance, with our engineers right there to help them. That way they start getting the repetition and the cadence of doing a setup or a changeover on the machine. So those first 5 days are at our facility, all training. Then after that, the machine is shipped to the customer site. We go on site, we install the machine, which typically takes about half a day for our guys to get the machine in place. We typically ask just for power and air to the machine. But for them to get the rest of the machine set up, it's about half a day. And then the remainder of those 5 days is all dedicated to training. So whether it's doing another changeover or bringing second shift operators in or bringing somebody new over to start getting familiar with the machine, we can really, we try to be flexible so we can customize the training to fit whatever our customers' demands are, but those 10 days are entirely up to the customer what they want to do. And we think that's really important for that onboarding and getting your feet wet and starting to get comfortable with the machine. And even on subsequent machines, we still have that offering there for our customers to take advantage of it as they continue to bring new people on. As we know, employee retention is these days, and finding experienced people is becoming more and more difficult. So we want to continue to offer that. So as new people come or go, they can still get that same experience that a new customer would get with a machine tool like ours.
That was actually super helpful for us because I had been trained the summer before. And then when we got our newest machine, the second shift operator and some of the setup people and lead people in that department all hadn't been there during the training. So they got to have that whole week of every little issue we've had, or like we got to request specific things we wanted trained on. They even went through and they would kind of change things or kind of purposely mess something up. Yeah. So that way we were tasked with how would you solve this problem? And it was really good just getting that better confidence with the machine and hands-on training.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, it's one of those things too, where we constantly are getting feedback from our customers on like, hey, it would be really nice if we could do this, or there might be a potential issue that we're starting to see some traction with as time goes on. And that's one of the things that's been very helpful about the support site for us is, you know, we're able to keep logs of all the data of, hey, we see a customer has this issue, and then a couple weeks later, we see someone else run into it. So it's like, okay, this might be something that we need to address at a higher level. So through those tickets, we've actually started to build a knowledge center within our hybrid solutions support site. So we have all different kinds of technical documents on everything from setting up and touching off tools to general maintenance best practices, adjusting saws and a saw head, whatever it might be. We've started to build up some of these technical guides. So there are proactive resources that our customers can go on to our support portal and learn about, so they can continue their education of the machine and become more and more familiar and more successful with it. And that ultimately, through that feedback, not only do we have the ability to do that, but we'll ultimately make improvements to the machine. We have a growth and innovation mindset that we know that we can always be better. We know that we can always innovate. I mean, we have continued throughout the time that the hybrid's been in existence to try to make it better based on customer feedback. So a lot of times, to Julia's point, even if, maybe it is the same people that are getting training, but maybe we made an adjustment to the control or added new features that could be beneficial to our customer in the long run. So we'll be able to spend time during that training going over some of those new things that have changed over the years, because, from your first machines that you guys got to where we are now, a lot has changed. A lot has stayed the same, but a lot has changed through feedback from people like Julia and from customers like Tylok on how we continuously make our products better. So through that support site and through that communication, we've been able to, I think, make our support and service better, but also make the fundamental product that we're bringing to market better as well.
That's awesome. Yeah, that highlights the importance of getting those analytics and feedback from the customers, because then you can make your product better. The fact that you guys are so forward thinking with that is really awesome.
Guide